Chicago, you crack me up. No disrespect to the folks over on BleacherNation.com or the writer of this article that we're going to be looking at today, Tab Bamford. But Bleacher Nation, as you can tell by the top of the website over here, they've got sections on their website for the Cubs, the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and more. Obviously, this is a Chicago-based website and a Chicago-focused article. And it dives into a particular Blackhawks and Canadiens trade idea that's so juicy and so big and so bleh, that I wanted to go out there and dive into it today in a video. So, of course, you already know from the title, from the thumbnail, today we are talking about Carey Price, the expensive $10.5 million AAV contract the Canadiens have on their payroll, a goalie who was one of the best players in the world, who has cemented himself as one of the best goaltenders of the 2000s, period, and a name that Canadiens fans all over absolutely adore. Sure, he may not be up there with the all-time greats in terms of Canadiens, goaltenders, and Stanley Cup winners, but he is very near and dear to our hearts, this Carey Price is. Problem is, his contract's expensive, it expires at the end of the season, and the Canadiens probably want to get rid of it after Price's salary bonuses are paid on September 1st. Which is why this article steps in and proposes a Blackhawks trade for the astounded Canadiens goaltender of yesteryear. This article by Tab Bamford is linked in the description. It talks about the context behind it. Marco D'Amico at RG wrote about how the Canadiens are looking to make more moves to improve their roster. However, they can't really do that with Carey Price still on the books at $10.5 million a year. This is all stuff that we've talked about before. As we had spoken about in earlier Price reports, this Carey Price contract would be an extremely attractive and cheap option for a team close to the salary cap floor, as long as that team knows they will already unload major salary throughout the season. The writer here, Tad Bamford, goes out there and says, "Enter the Chicago Blackhawks." As I've pointed out frequently, they have a lot of players in the final seasons of their respective deals, and some of the veterans who might not return after 25-26 include Jason Dickinson, Connor Murphy, Ilya Mikheyev, Sam Lafferty, Nick Foligno. All of these guys could be intriguing trade chips for the Blackhawks before the 2026 trade deadline. So, with all this in mind, would it not be reasonable for Chicago to go out there and maybe take a stab at grabbing Carey Price's deal? Ironically, they've already added the dead cap hit for Shea Weber at the deadline this past season. Weber and Price led the Habs to the 2021 Stanley Cup Finals, and then both of their bodies fell apart and their careers effectively ended. The reason the Hawks acquired Weber's paper is to help them get to the floor without having to add bodies. The same theory could be in play with a potential deal for Carey Price's contract before training camp starts, especially if the Blackhawks front office is heading into the coming season knowing they might be in a place where moving out veterans to make room on the NHL roster for the next generation is good business. Oy, what a long sentence. So, with all this in mind, let's dive into what Tad Bamford goes out there and proposes for a Canadiens and Blackhawks trade revolving around Carey Price. The Habs have some untouchable prospects, Michael Hage and David Reinbacher. Okay, that's fine. The top forward prospect names in the Montreal pipeline who might be in play would be Josh Waugh and Owen Beck. They're both young and could have some upside. Whether the Blackhawks view either of them as an improvement over the players who are coming in the Blackhawks pipeline is a question, however. And assuming Reinbacher is off the table, there isn't a D-man who is likely available in the Montreal system who does anything for Tad Bamford, the writer, compared to what the Blackhawks have in their pipeline already. This is where we dive into the proposal. Ryan Reynolds style, for all of y'all Deadpool fans. The Canadiens are in an interesting position in net right now. Their backup is Kaapo Kähkönen, who is not good. Nope, it's not Kaapo Kähkönen, it's probably going to be Jakub Dobeš. Kähkönen is just there as insurance and a potential internal competition spike there. There's a chance the Blackhawks could move out Laurent Brossoit's contract in a deal here, and he could, if healthy, prove to be an upgrade for Montreal behind Montembeault. Yeah, the writer here does not even know that Jakub Dobeš exists, unfortunately. That's what it looks like. Again, if a deal here wouldn't be consummated until September, that's enough time for Brossoit to pass a physical and show that he's potentially ready to play. And I know, that sounds like a terrible deal. Like, oh, Laurent Brossoit to Montreal in a Carey Price trade? What the hell, man? But here's where it gets interesting. If you scroll down, you can read this part of the article. If the Canadiens are looking to improve their NHL roster in the process, the Blackhawks and Habs may have a conversation about potentially including Lukas Reichel in a deal. We've talked plenty about Reichel being a potential change of scenery candidate before the coming season begins, and the Blackhawks already found a new home for Kirby Dach in Montreal. Including Reichel could also make the assets attached to Price's contract improve. Dare I say, the price would go up? So how about this potential trade package after Price gets his signing bonus on September 1st? The Blackhawks would receive Carey Price's contract at $10.5 million, Montreal's 2026 first, Montreal's 2027 first, and the Canadiens would receive Laurent Brossoit, Lukas Reichel, Chicago's 26 second, Toronto's 26 second, and Vancouver's 27 second. Buddy, what? Where did all these draft picks come from? Like, we were just talking about Carey Price, Laurent Brossoit, and Lukas Reichel, and it's like, oh, now there's 2 firsts attached to it. I'll tell you this, man. I do not think, and you can, call me out on this if it actually ends up not coming true, whatever. I do not think that Carey Price is going to get traded with 2 first-round picks. Any sort of a deal that sees Carey Price getting moved out of Montreal is more so going to be a deal just to free up the money. It's not going to be a deal where it's like, oh, we got to improve our team, we got to trade away Price, and we got to add some other stuff to get some extra value in there, and then we can actually get some players that help us out, like Lukas Reichel, for example. Like, I mean, okay, great. If you trade away Price for Reichel, be my guest. I'm a very big fan of this guy, by the way. 23 years old, young forward. He's got a lot of potential. He's got skill. He showed that off when he was a prospect earlier after getting drafted by Chicago in 2020. I like Lukas Reichel a lot, and he's going through some pretty tough times in Chicago. But trading away Carey Price with the intention of improving the team in the process, I feel like that's a little bit too tall of a task for even Kent Hughes to manage mentally. Like, if you're Kent Hughes, you're trying to trade away Carey Price, that's one thing. That's a thing by itself. And then once you trade away Carey, you get that $10.5 million salary off the books. And it's like, okay, now we can make even more trades for other dudes. You don't have to necessarily restrict yourself to improving the team by making a trade with a team that is so far down there at the cap floor that they would need a Carey Price contract to get back into NHL eligibility. It just doesn't really feel right, in my opinion. Now, Laurent Brossoit, say what you want about him. I mean, he had himself a .927 save percentage in 23 games in 23-24. That's fine. But he didn't play all of 24-25. The guy was hurt. He's making $3.3 million himself. So that is extra salary the Montreal Canadiens would have to grab on. I don't think that's in their wheelhouse at all. I don't think they want to add on any extra money in a trade where they're just getting rid of all the extra money that they have already. So big respect over here to Tad Bamford for writing this article, putting it out there onto the internet. But I have the right to go out there and respond to it and say, man, Carey Price to Chicago, be my guest, reunite him with Shea Weber, but this package? Laurent Brossoit coming back to Montreal? I don't really see why that would be a fit. Lukas Reichel, I like a lot, that's great. But if it costs all these extra draft picks, then I start to really become skeptical as to whether or not this would actually be a reasonable trade idea. The article then says here at the bottom, the Blackhawks would add 2 more premium assets, like 2 first-round picks, giving them 3 first-round picks in 2026, enough ammo to do something significant. It would add a second pick in the first round in the 27 draft to their pipeline as well. I mean, is it really necessary for them to go out there and start talking about adding all these draft picks in what is essentially a Carey Price cap dump? The Canadiens would acquire a potential upgrade as a backup. Yeah, no, still no mention of Jakub Dobeš. Montreal's Reichel and Brossoit would have expiring contracts, giving them future flexibility as well. I mean, props to the writer for going out there and proposing it, but I just don't like the deal at all. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this proposed Carey Price to Chicago trade idea, which would see Montreal acquiring 3 draft picks, Lukas Reichel and Laurent Brossoit, all for the cheap price of Carey Price and 2 first-round picks? I hope you enjoyed this Fetish Rolls 99, and bye.